I think society has built women up to think that they're the prize. More than that, I think it's more so that men are finding it just easier to not be in a relationship. And I think that's when you came in and said that, you translated that as lazy.
Yeah. Welcome to the NOIRPOISED podcast, where wisdom is power is more than just a motto.
It's our way of life.
We were having a conversation, what was it, a couple of days ago? Where you made a statement, paraphrasing, because I don't remember the exact thing, but I remember thinking...
It was actually after we were listening to one of the episodes.
Really?
Yeah.
Which episode was it?
I don't remember which one.
Okay, whatever. Anyways, we were having a conversation a couple days ago, and Sam mentioned that men don't think it's worth it to pursue women these days.
Yeah. As some men, well, most men, I think. Men.
And I thought that was interesting because I think it's something that, in my opinion, I think a lot of women recognize, but I don't think we say it out loud. I think a lot of women may have recognized that with the difference in how men do pursue women, but it was interesting to actually hear you say it and it from the perspective that you were saying it. So I wanted you to kind of like rewind a little bit, bring it back, and talk to the viewers.
Hi, viewers.
About your thoughts pertaining to that, because I don't necessarily agree with you. I agree with the statement that men don't try anymore, but I don't agree with the reasoning behind why they don't try as far as it being a valid reason not to try. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
I think the main reason why they don't try is I think society has built women up to think that they're the prize. And that goes for men too. There's a lot of men, for whatever reason, they think they're the prize. So they think, I'm the greatest thing that God ever produced or whatever.
Facts.
But
they do.
The reality is the man is not the prize. The woman's not the prize. The relationship is the prize. And when we're in a society now where it seems like it's kind of, if you want me, you have to jump through hoops. You have to do X, Y, and Z. Add all the other societal pressure with career, work, family ties, and all that. I think men are just, what I was telling you is men are just tired. And they're starting to see that maybe the pursuit is not worth the risk. There was some famous lady, I think like an influencer or something, but she said how she was talking to this guy for weeks or months, but it was quite a long time. And then finally she told the guy, you know what, I appreciate having conversations with you, but I'm not really feeling you. So I think we should just keep it as friends. His response was, okay, I hope you take care. And then he blocked her. He didn't say anything petty. He just say, okay. She said that left her devastated.
Devastated, I think, is a strong word.
But I kind of get it, because you probably, I'm not a woman, obviously, but you probably want to feel special enough where someone is saying, no, I don't see anyone else. I just want you. So no matter what, I'm going to try harder. And I think that's what she meant by the whole devastation. But that's a story that I keep hearing over and over from women. And from men, I'm hearing the same thing where they're saying if she's putting up a fight,
then whatever.
Yeah, I'm not. There's a whole bunch of other fishes in the ocean like that, like they would say. But it's more than that. I think it's more so that men are finding it just easier to not be in a relationship. And I think that's when you came in and said that, you translated that as lazy.
Yeah. The story you just gave, I don't see why that would be devastated, because if you're telling someone that you're uninterested, then what did you want them to do realistically? But I understand the reasoning why she would have wanted him to pursue her. Yeah. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, based on what I hear from women sometimes, I think women want to test a man to see if he's really interested. And sometimes they'll intentionally step back to see if he's willing to fight for her. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, why is that? Because it's not easy stepping up to a woman that you're actually interested in. If you don't care about her, like the people who catcall and just flirt, whatever, they don't really care. So that's not hard. But if someone's really interested in you and going out of their way to say, I would like to take you out on a date, it is devastating. I would imagine that, to hear them say no, kind of thing.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I say, I think it's a rejection issue. I think men these days have a deeper issue with rejection. And so they're not willing to pursue as much as like men back in the day did, where they understood that like it's my role to pursue her. I want her. I must pursue her. Now men are just like, I'm going to take the girl that want me, or she could come get me instead, kind of thing. Like a lot of men have that thinking, and I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. For me, I don't agree. I prefer the concept of a man chasing a woman. My opinion.
Well, why is that? Like, if you had to speak to the men who are listening and saying why you think it's important to chase.
My personal opinion. But I think men, how do I put this into words? It's easier for a woman to love a man than it is for a man to love a woman. And what I mean by that is a woman can grow in love with a man. If he's a really dope person, he's a good guy, he has a good heart, even if he's not her type, she will grow in love with who he is, even if it takes time. But I believe that because we're emotional creatures, or we're more emotional creatures, it's more likely that if a man continues to pursue a woman, if he really does have great characteristics and qualities that she wants in a man, she will probably end up falling for him. I don't think it's the same vice versa. I actually think a man has to want the woman in order to really like love her the right way. I don't think that's the case for a woman. I think even in cases where women fall out of love with men, I think they'll still do right by him because it's in her nature to do so. I don't think men are built that way. Again, this is my opinion. It could just be what I was taught. I don't know. But I think that men need to want what they're with. And if they don't want what they're with that bad, that's when you'll find that they're dealing with infidelity, or he's not evolving the way that he should. And we hear it all the time where like a man will date a woman for like 7 years, didn't do this, 10 years, didn't do this, didn't propose. The minute they break up, he finds another woman. Within 2 years, all of it's done. It's because she wasn't it. When a man knows what he wants, he knows that's what it is, there's nothing stopping him from doing the things that he needs to do to pursue that woman. So that's why I think sometimes, while I don't 100% agree with it, I understand why women want to make sure that like, I got to make sure this dude's really willing to fight for me. Because if I'm just here telling you, yeah, I'm really into you, it's probably like, all right, she into me, she cute. She's cute, you know, she got a lot of good things going for her. She's a good girl. Yeah, I'll keep her around. And then you'll find that you dated him for 6 years and he's ready to dip. You know, like most women don't want to have to deal with that. This toddler, guys, we have stopped this video 5 times for this kid, and we're cutting again.
I'm not gonna lie, I was ready to disagree with you in the beginning, because men have the opposite view, because a woman just has to be a woman. You know, a man has to you have to have the right money, you have to have the right looks, and there's so much that men are judged by, where a woman is taught by society that, again, you are the prize. That's why I was ready to disagree with you at some points. And I've heard other people make that argument too, where a man will love a woman just because of her character, her personality and all that. While a man has to have the right character, personality, and a whole bunch of other things on top of that. Like you have to have
You
your
don't
career,
think women
right?
have to have the whole bunch of things? Because you guys, it may not be money, but it may be, does she know how to cook?
Yeah, maybe, but I don't want to get too
I'm
out
just
of the
saying,
point.
But it goes both ways, I think.
I don't want to get too out of the point, but the reason why I'm agreeing with you now is men definitely value things that they work on. Like if they have to build something brick by brick, whether it's their career, you know, their homes or a relationship, they certainly value it. So I can see why, in your point of view, it's beneficial for men to chase, because if you work for it, then you're more likely to value it and keep it.
It's not to say that like the approach that woman from the story took was the right way, because I actually disagree with that. Like if you're interested in someone, I don't think the right thing to do is to act like you're not and say you're not. You know what I mean? But I think it's best to pay attention to intentions and pay attention to his actions. So like, in my opinion, if a man is interested in you, you don't have to be the first to text or call. He's reaching out. He's setting up dates. He's asking you, when can he see you? Little things like that will let you know if he's trying to pursue you in that type of way. But I understand that her approach was, well, her mindset was probably like, let me see if he's really into me. So the fact that he was just like, I bet, you know, it's okay. You know, I wish you the best of luck. That I could see why then it was devastating for her. That just tells me that she actually was into him. And she expected a different response.
Really?
Yeah. That's my opinion. That's what I would think.
I've actually seen this growing up. I mean, this is like in high school and stuff. And so I didn't particularly pay too much attention to it. But now that we're talking about it, I've seen it in so many cases where a man is pursuing a woman. The woman declines or plays hard to get long enough for the man to say, all right, I'm moving on to the next one. And when he moves on to another woman and that woman accepts, the first woman feels some type of way.
That sounds a little childish in my opinion.
Yeah, like I've seen it. I mean, predominantly in school and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've also seen it.
High school.
I've also seen in some cases in adulthood, not as often, but it does look like the woman's kind of like, how dare you, move on, kind of thing.
That's childish.
All right, as long as we,
I think
because I thought that
childish.
was I thought that was a societal norm as far as like what you're saying, where that woman was expecting the man to pursue her even more. But there's a video I want to play actually of a woman talking about this, just talking about how, I think she mentions like in the future how 43% of women by 2050 will be single or childless or something.
I feel like that's already happening.
Yeah, but she ties it into men not pursuing. Yeah, not pursuing.
Because you have to understand before you play it, you have to understand the way that we were raised and taught, as children. So for me, I was taught that you wait on a man. A man pursues you.
Yeah.
So if you have a generation of women with that mindset and now you have men who are not pursuing, what do you have?
Yeah.
Like I've actively heard men say like they want a woman to chase them. And I don't get it.
There's a whole nother topic, but I actually think it's a lot to do with like our diet and these microplastics.
In a nutshell, the lack of
testosterone in men. I do think that's
is it demasculating or emasculating?
I think it's both is happening, honestly.
Okay.
But I think all that plays a role, and that coincides with men looking at people in relationships and thinking like, or looking at women and thinking like, I don't think it's worth it. I'd rather just sit back. In the video I'm about to play, I was reading through some of the comments, and that's where a lot of the men were saying like, I'd rather just chill. I'd rather just do me. I know I ain't got to come home and hear X, Y, and Z, but let me play the video.
Okay.
Here's some crazy research for you. So a third of men, 33%, a little over a third, of men between the ages of 18 and 29 are not only single, but they're not actively looking for a partner. The same study said that by the year 2030, that 45% of women between the ages of 20 and 45 will be single. So I've got a question for the men, because I see it all the time in my comments. Most of my comments are filled with guys saying we're done. We're not looking. We like our peace. I need some more talk from you guys. Tell me why you're done. Tell me why you don't want to have a partner in life. Tell me why it's more worth it to be single than to have a partner.
As you can see, it has 28,000 comments. So
I did not notice that. But...
Yeah, a lot of people were going in, and I would definitely say take some time to read through it, because it helped me understand where society's at as far as why men want to pursue. Because there's some men out there saying it's the opposite, like, no, guys, you need to do this XYZ because it is worth it. And one comment that really stood out to me was a guy saying, I want to pursue, but I can't find someone worth pursuing. And I think that was the point narrative.
You were trying to get at some point. So what is causing men to feel like it's not worth it? In your opinion, or based on what you see and read?
Well, in my opinion, I think if I had to sum it up real quickly, men see relationship as, I don't want to use the word slavery because that's too strong of a word, but I'm going to be losing myself to serve someone else. And that's the complete, I know you're shaking your head because I'm sure you say the woman is thinking the same thing. But when you look at whether it's pop culture in shows or whatever the case is, it's the man doing what the woman wants. And if the woman's not going to get her way, that's when it becomes more of an issue. It's easier to convince the man to do something versus the woman to do something.
Men are more adaptable.
Right. Men are more adaptable. Like if a man wants to spend Sunday afternoons or Sunday evenings watching football, is more likely to be a problem versus a man spending Saturday or Sunday afternoon at the mall with his significant other. Like a man is more likely to be adaptable. And I think men see that and say, I don't really want to do that. And again, I think it's a false perception because, like you said, it's a give and take thing. So although that's what pop culture society makes it seem, there's times where you're doing stuff that you don't want to do, but I want to do, and then vice versa. But that's not the story that's put out there. And I think, unfortunately, the loudest voices are falsely, the negative ones.
Yeah.
And the loudest voices are perceived to be the majority. I don't think majority of women are like that, but because the loudest women are like that, it makes guys just look at it like, nah, I'm definitely done.
Yeah, and that's the point of these conversations, is because I think, unfortunately, in our culture, we don't put the positive on the forefront. We're always talking about the negative and this, that, and the third. And I understand it because there are cons to being in a relationship. And that's why I say, when you were talking about it, because you didn't say all this when we had the conversation, of course, but when you were talking about it and you were saying how like men don't think it's worth it anymore, my automatic reaction was like, because y'all lazy. And the reason why I said that is because, and it's not just a man thing, I really think it's a society thing. I think we're becoming more and more selfish. We're becoming more and more self-centered. We're becoming more and more like lazy. You know, we're not willing to put in the work, but we want the same results. And this is a perfect example of that. If you're not doing the work to pursue a good woman, then yeah, you're going to keep attracting a certain type of female. And it's not to say that like there's anything wrong with women pursuing men or whatever the case is. To each his own. I've heard of relationships that are very successful where that occurred. But I think there's a limit, or there should be a balance. Like in most cases, when I hear those stories, it's something to the extent of like, she shot the first shot, but he did the rest. You know what I mean? It wasn't on some like she continuously pursued him, or she maybe gave him her number and he reached out, or she did the first phone call, or she asked on the first date. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because there's different personalities and different type of people out there. I think the issue is when she is continuously pursuing him throughout the relationship. And the reality is, if you have to do that, sis, he doesn't want you. I think when a man wants something, and it's not just in a relationship aspect, it's in general. When he wants it that bad, he's going to do the work to make it happen. So I think it's also that where people are not recognizing where he's just not that into you. And they're constantly trying to make it work. So I get it, but at the same time, I do think men are lazy. I would
change. I would change the word lazy to hurt. I think that's what I'm getting at. Because even I remember what I was going to say.
That's true.
I remember what I was going to say earlier, because you said about men chasing. The narrative now is men don't chase.
Right.
If you chase, you're a simp. Like
So
you're a beggar. Like a man shouldn't beg. A man should live his life in a way where you have women coming to you and then you pick what you want. But that's
a lot of men have that mentality.
Yeah, but that's the narrative now, and I think it comes from a hurtful place, because a lot of bad boys, they weren't always bad boys. A lot of these men who talk down to women and objectify women, they weren't always like that. It took them
scorned.
It took them meeting one woman, and now they took that experience and judge everyone, kind of like a way to protect themselves. And I've noticed that women tend to be more forgiving in that aspect, where if you meet a guy and the guy hurts you, you may start looking at men a certain way, but it seems like in the back of your mind, you know, okay, that was a bad man. That was a bad man. I can recognize a bad man and a good man. Whereas a man, once he's hurt, he kind of labels everyone. So I don't think there's one.
I think there are women out there who do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think there's one answer as far as why men aren't pursuing, but it's just a combination of things. And those are one of the things as well. I feel like there's so many topics that could go this could go into. But another thing is, I think sometimes, honestly, women just
do too
much. That's why, well, women give it up too fast. Like someone wrote,
don't get me started on that.
I saw someone wrote, why should I pursue her when she has her link in her bio, kind of thing. And unfortunately, again, like we said, men like something that they have to work towards. Even if a man is attracted to you physically and you don't sleep with him, just because you end up marrying him doesn't mean that he was only physically attracted to you, but that physical attraction opens the door to mental, emotional, spiritual
and
attraction.
You learn the essence of her.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's a combination of things.
Yeah, I agree. It is. I don't think there's ever a one size fits all or a one answer to why certain things are happening. I do think it is a combination. And like I mentioned earlier, I think one of the reasons is the fear of rejection. I think society now has more of a difficult time dealing with rejection than probably men in the past. And I think that's part of why sometimes men are not willing to do the pursuing. Like if they approach a woman and she says no, they're just like, she said no, whatever, you know what it is. But I think that's a character thing. I really think that's a character thing, because I've heard of stories where men have just kept going for it in a respectful way, not in a begging way, but like
in a confident way.
In a confident way. And I think that's a beautiful thing too. Like, and I think that'll probably make the woman actually want to give you a chance more when she's like, okay, like you bold.
Yeah.
You know, you want a dude that's going to be bold, because the reality is, right, if you're operating that way when it comes to attracting or getting the woman that you desire, as a woman, I'm automatically going to think you operate that way in other aspects of your life. In finances, with your job, with your family. I'm going to always think that the minute that something doesn't work out, you're just like, I give up.
You're a quitter or something.
And no woman wants that. Yeah. No woman wants that. So there's different ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
There's different ways of looking at it. But ultimately, I think we do need to start putting the positivity of relationships and marriage on the forefront a little bit more, because there are more positives than there are negatives. And unfortunately, maybe because men are more logical, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking maybe because men are more logical and they're like, okay, A plus B equals AB. You know what I mean? After A comes B, after B comes C. Whereas women, we look more in depth into things. And it could be because of the emotional aspect of us, that you guys are just, this is what happened when I did this. So this is the result. So this is how I'm operating going forward. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's fair, but I understand it. I get where men are coming from. And I get that, like, the reality is, because the negative perspectives are usually what's put out for us to see, the women that are being illustrated as women are not the best of quality. They're not the best quality of women. So it's creating this perception that women are this, you know, the girl who's willing to flaunt her assets on social media. So I get the concept of the link is in her bio. Because why would you want to fight for something that every other dude has access to? Like, if I was a guy, I would not want you either. You know what I mean? So maybe it's those women that are not being pursued, and that's what's being pushed out there. I don't know, but I don't know.
I mean, I think regardless of whether it's those women that are being pursued or not, I think the narrative out there is women don't want to do the pursuing, and it's going to end up to a lot of singlehood on both sides and a lot of people being childless. If I had to give like advice for women and advice to men, I would say to women, you don't have to reject, just tease. You don't have to flat out say no, because men are logical. Men are very, if this, then that. So especially nowadays, you don't want to be accused of whatever the case is. I saw somebody wrote how you can't pursue women now because they'll take screenshots and post it and make you seem like it's something. So it's not just a rejection thing. It could be an embarrassment thing, whatever the case is.
Right.
So I think that's one of the reasons why men are careful. But if you tease him, like, let
him know you're interested, but you don't have to I think that do it all.
I think that will drive a guy wild, because it's kind of like, okay, there's levels to this. Right. I did this. Now I know I got to go to the next level. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, men do look at life like missions, like whether it's a video game or, you know, whatever kind of mission. And once we pass a certain level, we expect another level. So if you operate that way, where you're not rejecting, but you're teasing in a good way, of course. Like, you're going to find that guys are not willing to quit on you as easy as, you know, they normally do. Right. And for men, all my research has shown that there's nothing that comes to close as far as men being fulfilled than family. Not money, not any kind of assets or wealth or travel. I've seen it over and over again. The richest men, the poorest men say the same thing. There's nothing. I've heard that too. There's no greater level to manhood than having a family that you're providing for, protecting for, emotionally, financially, and in every way. So
because you have your own little village.
And I think there's something innate in us, kind of like there's something innate in women to nurture. I think there's something innate in us that tells us that this is what you're supposed to do. Maybe you remember this quote, but the success you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
Yes.
So I would tell men, like, do whatever you got to do to get out of that fear of rejection, and learn to choose quality women. You know, listen, you don't, just because you
that's
see,
a very important part.
Just because you see a woman you're interested in doesn't mean you go throw yourself at her. Be able to playfully tease as well. Show her your interest, but also be very direct. I would say that.
And don't just look at the visuals, because I think sometimes like that can lead men towards the wrong direction, because they have a certain type or physique that they're looking for, not realizing that there are amazing women with different types of bodies and different type of physiques and looks.
Yeah.
So be open-minded in that aspect too. Don't be like, oh, she ain't this, that, and the third, so I don't want to. Because then if you keep going towards the same type of women who dress the same type of way, guess what? There's a high chance that you may be getting the same type of result. So quality is very important.
Yeah, I would
Choose
say,
wisely.
honestly, I'm a testament of that.
What?
Because I remember I told you before, because growing up, of course, I was insecure about my height and everything. But when I honestly met you and I started speaking with you, I'm like, yo, she's different. And I honestly didn't think about it. But then when I really realized, yeah, there's a difference there.
The fact that you say you didn't think about it, sometimes I'd be looking at you like, really? Okay.
Well, they say love is blind, right?
Okay.
But I remember when I really thought about it and how society would look at it and how maybe you would perceive it. I sent you a text message saying, you know what? I promise you'll never meet another man like me.
He ain't lie to this day.
And that was my motivation, where I'm like, okay, I focused on my strengths. I tried to find the best parts of myself to advertise. And if you're a man out there, you don't have to check off all the boxes. Just find the best part of yourself, and that's what you advertise. That's what you sell. And when you have the confidence behind that, it'll get you this. Not this. This is mine. But it'll get you this. Yeah.
That is hilarious. No, I love that advice. I agree with that advice, actually. I think it's really important to look at the heart and the mind, because that's what's going to, one, raise your family. That's what's going to keep the relationship going. So yeah, again, be open-minded, be open-minded for sure. You ain't lie though, friends, family. Sorry guys, I love y'all all, but he's still
thank you.
No one has topped it. No one, seriously. So
that.
You ain't lie about it, and the right one won't be lying either.
Yeah.
And we're out. Thank you for spending your time with us. We hope you gained some knowledge today that'll promote poise in your life. We have new episodes uploaded every Thursday right here, same place, same time. Until next time, you can follow us on Instagram at NOIRPOISED Podcast to stay connected. That's NOIRPOISED Podcast. We'd love to hear your feedback.
And remember, your wisdom is power.